Okay, here's the first thing that you do for your evaluation. It's the summary. It's the blue part that I showed you in the previous film. It's 150 words, and it's basically you're introducing what you've done to this marker who doesn't know you at all and who has no idea what you've done. So in 150 words, basically, you've got to bring them up to speed. Now, first impressions count. It's the first thing they're going to read from you. They've got about 100 or so of these to go through. So make sure your expression is as good as it can be, that you haven't got any typos, spelling, and don't go over those 150 words either. I've got 3 examples for you, and all of the examples answer the questions down the right-hand side here. So you can see the first paragraph, it looks at the focus of the research. So in the first example, they've used I investigated, and they kind of tell you what they've investigated. In the second example, they're going throughout my research project I investigated. That's fine too. The next one, I investigated. But don't feel you have to say investigated, because I've just realised that they all say investigated. I thought some of them were slightly different. You could sort of say, I researched, or my topic was, or my area of interest was, and from this grew a particular research question. You don't have to say I investigated all the time. You'll notice that there's a bit of a skill in summing up what you've done. So, I mean, the second sentence on this particular example is pretty good. You know, I attempted to determine whether one method of supplementation was more effective throughout the entirety of Australia, taking into account cost, effectiveness, accessibility, and impact upon the animal. It's pretty good. And you'll notice, like, rather than a list for the research processes, the next sentence simply goes, my research relied heavily upon scientific studies and expert opinion. So instead of going through a list, going, right, well, I looked at organisational websites and I had interviews and I did this, they're simply picking out the 2 main ones and saying, these are the ones that I relied upon quite heavily. In the next one, again, it's the last sentence of that first paragraph, a bit more of a list here, but it's still not mentioning everything that this student actually did. And again, the second sentence of this particular summary, again, just isolates 2 main ones. So 2, 3, 4 main ones that you actually did. The second paragraph looks at your outcome and what you chose to present and basically why. Here's another one. I presented my findings as an artwork. The other example, I decided to present my outcome as a report which suits my research. And then the last paragraph basically looks at findings, what your main findings were. And again, try and avoid a list. Just try and describe it as well as you possibly can. So there we go. And for the last one, I concluded that there were many key processes, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so hopefully this should be straightforward. What I suggest you do is you have these questions up in front of you and you start writing and you start honing it down to 150 of your best words. Okay, go for it.